This art I factualize, notepad app utilize, typing so hard to keep pad feels brutalized.
Here, you'll find a portal to vibrant voices, echoing souls, and an ongoing celebration of the extraordinary power of language. So, prepare yourself to join host Dr. Michael Anthony Ingram and his special guests as they explore traditional and spoken word forms of poetry.
I'd like to welcome you to this broadcast, Quintessential Listening, Poetry Online Radio and YouTube podcast. I'm here with an author poet. He is my co-host. He's the man of the evening. And we're here with some talented and award-winning spoken word artists, poets, amazing talents. So I'd like to turn it over to Aaron. You take it over, my friend.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. Yeah, and I brought some friends. Hopefully we still got one person on the way. But tonight we just wanted to have, some conversations and also bless the audience with some poetic pieces. I know it's National Poetry Month, so this was a good chance to bring some people together and see what we can come up with, see if we can live up to the hype, when you got this much talent in one room, it's always expectations. So I think we can do this, Michael. So I guess to start us off,
I think we can too, man.
One of the questions we were going to ask is, and we'll just, I guess, start with Johnson, sold out, is what does poetry mean to you?
Good evening. And what does poetry mean to me? Poetry to me is a expression of oneself, expression of what's going on in your surrounding area, whether it's directly or indirectly. I personally believe that poets were the first prophets. I feel like everybody way decades, centuries, however many years ago, used to go to the streets and listen to the poets to understand what was going on before the newspapers, before anything else. That's how people were getting their information, through these, sonnets and whatever have you, styles of poetry. So I feel like it's for me, just a way to spread information, a way to express oneself musically, even without rhythm or beats behind it, because of the stylistic ways that there's so many different styles of poetry to have, that it can rhyme. It doesn't have to rhyme, but it always does follow a pattern of some sort for the most part, or it doesn't have to at all. So yeah, I think that's for me, that's why I think poetry is, for sure.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Right.
Keys, what about you? Or you can also introduce yourself to everybody, and then
Trying to mute myself. Good evening, everyone. My name is
Hello,
Keys
hello.
Will. I am a spoken wordsmith and lyricist from Queens, New York. And what does poetry mean to me? Poetry is therapy. It's a means of being able to express myself and connect with other people who may be going through similar things. It's also freedom, right? Going back to what Justin said about it may have to rhyme or not, it follows a scheme or it doesn't. I think that the beauty in poetry is just to be able to just say what you need to say and have it resonate with your listeners. So that's what poetry is for me.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
He's so cold. What about you? Poetry. What is it? What does it mean to you?
Good evening. I am She's So Cold. I'm based in Houston, originally from Queens, New York. Hey, Keys. Also by way of Brooklyn. But I think I'm gonna actually follow behind Keys, because poetry for me is very much therapy. They're very much a form of healing, a form of tapping into the subconscious, especially with free writing. So even if it doesn't rhyme, even if it's more monologuing, it's still tapping into a space that you wouldn't normally access in just conversation. So it's like communion with yourself. Mm-hmm.
What about you, my friend Aaron? What is poetry to you? What does it mean to you, man?
That's awesome. I think too, I think it's an elaborate way to express yourself in a creative way to do that. And I think the unique thing about poetry is I think it can um what pretty much tap into all areas of life. I don't think it's in a box, so to speak. So I like what people were saying just about the different ways and the different styles and things like that. And I think poetry is a way to bring attention to different things because of how it can be done, especially with spoken word and those types of events. Because I think sometimes people get, in my opinion, get tired of just seeing things one way all the time. And so when it's just like a repetitive, like maybe telling a story, I think when you can do it more creatively, it hits a little bit different. So,
I agree. I agree.
but what about you? You do.
Poetry, poetry saved my life. I don't know if y'all are old enough to remember that song that the DJ saved my life tonight. Poetry saved my life because it gave me an opportunity to breathe in a different way, pull out those words, to spew those words through the power of poetry. I'm able to moan, I'm able to scream, I'm able to run, jump, you name it, because poetry gives me that strength. Because when I'm in that poetic mood or that poetic place, nobody can touch me. There's no vulnerability when I'm sharing my work.
That's
Now,
real.
when I'm not sharing my work, that's another story. When I'm in the middle of it, nobody can touch me. So
Yeah.
to me, that's power. So poetry is power. That's what it is to me, is power. All right.
Okay.
Anyone else have any thoughts about poetry there before we move further?
Yeah, I know we got Chev that just came in here too, so wanted to introduce Chev. Um, you know, the show and the show till Chev shows up, right? So
Right.
Chev,
I don't know about all that. I don't know.
we were just
How y'all
talking
doing?
about what poetry means to you. And then yeah, I did have a little follow-up and then we'll move on real quick. But
All right.
so yeah, Chev, what's poetry mean to you?
Uh, I'm trying to think of something else because I always say poetry saved my life, but then I come in and someone else immediately says that. I'm like, Jesus Christ, it just out here saving everybody. It's like
He
I
is,
didn't know
man.
poetry was
He
just like a superhero for hire out here. I feel less special. All right,
is.
but
Still special, bro. Still special.
I'd say I still have to say poetry saved my life because I had poems when I had nothing.
Mm.
Like when I was able to lose everything else I had going for me in life, like living situations, career trajectories, even like confidence, I was still able to do poems. And I imagine at every facet of my being, the highs, the lows, whatever, it's still gonna be right there. And I'm gonna write them down and type them down and do whatever so they're recorded. So if I'm ever at a point in life or age where my faculties ain't all the way there, then I guess we just gonna reread the old ones.
Okay. One of the things real quick is well, I guess two quick questions. How do y'all know when you want to rhyme the poetry and when you don't? And the other question is, how do you have this power? Like, if you don't feel it yourself, how do you put that into a poem where you feel like different than how you would normally feel? And I know, like Michael, you were saying, like poetry has this power where you feel unstoppable, untouchable when you're doing it, but then in like,
Yes.
I guess reality, it's like, no, I don't really feel that way. So how do you blend those
Right.
two?
Anybody can just jump in?
Jump right here. Please.
Okay. Well, for me, my poems kind of lead me. I don't really, whether I rhyme it or not, sometimes, when you've been doing poetry for years, the rhyming kind of becomes a part of your speech, becomes a part of your daily life. You do it on accident. Um, so I don't, unless I'm writing or intentionally, like if I'm given a topic and I want to write about that particular topic, maybe I might rhyme. But for the most part, I'm kind of an inspirational writer. So whatever is motivating me at the moment to write, I just kind of let it guide me. Take me where you want to go. There's sometimes I get halfway through a poem and it turns and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. You know, I keep a thesaurus nearby. I might find a rhyming word and that'll change the trajectory of the poem completely. So my poems tell me what to do. I don't tell them what to do.
So you're in the driver's seat. No. The poem is in the driver's seat.
I'm in the passenger seat. Sometimes I'm in the back seat. But yeah, the poem is definitely driving. It's in control.
All right. All right. Anyone else? Talk to us.
I'm real big on purpose and intention. So every device has to have a why. Like, why am I using alliteration? Why am I rhyming? Why is this a metaphor? Why is this a simile? Because otherwise, I can just say this to you. Whatever the message is, I can just tell you. So for certain topics, I'm more willing to rhyme than others. And the types of rhyme, there's internal rhyme. I'm an internal rhyme, there's end rhyme, multi-syllable, singular syllable. It's all about how does this particular device serve the message right now? And if you don't, then oh, you just won't be here.
Right.
That's real.
So are you saying that you drive or the poem drives?
Oh no, I'm driving.
You drive. All right. I just want
and everybody
the police stop you. I just want to find out.
You can't
the poem is the destination.
You can't just get in the car with Chev. It sounds like you got to have a reason.
You gotta at least have the aux cord.
Yeah, the poem, the destination. If you ain't bring gas money, I don't know what you here for.
All right. Very nice.
So I want to piggyback off of what She's So Cold said with the poem being in the driver's seat. I'm okay with being the passenger. I drive all the time, so sometimes it's nice to just be in the passenger seat and plug in the aux cord. But because I'm also a lyricist, I think I'm a lyricist first. Most of the time, my poems do rhyme. I do have a hard time getting away from rhyme, and that is something that I'm working on now. But also piggybacking off what Chev said, it depends on what the piece is about, what's the purpose, and what the use of certain, metaphors, similes, stuff like that, where it fits in and why. So I would say a little bit of both, but I want to say 97% of my poetry rhymes. Because it just, to me, it feels better when I'm performing it. Like for it to rhyme, it kind of lands better, in my opinion. For the listeners, when you hear a rhyme scheme, you kind of hold on to it a little differently. So yeah, I'm more into rhyme, I would say.
Let me ask this question. Are you feeling pressured to change the style from rhyme to something else, or is it just something that you want to do?
I am leaning towards writing pieces that don't rhyme. I do want to get out of that comfortability of just going for rhyming words, because it's easy. Once you've been doing it for so long, like She's So Cold said, you rhyming on accident, it just falls out. So I realized that that's a level of comfort, right? So now I want to get out of my comfort zone and try to deliver the message just as powerfully, but without having to rhyme.
Right. Johnson Soldout, bring us home, man. Talk to us.
We gonna keep this car metaphor going. I guess I treat it like a road trip. You know what I'm saying? The poem might hit me up and be like, hey, we going to this destination. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I got the first leg, it might be an 8-hour trip. So I got this for the first 2 hours, and I'll come up with, an idea or something that I haven't written about. And then I'm like, okay, this is the idea. Then the next 2 hours of switching the poem will take over. And that's when the words just start forming in my head. And, that's when you tap into that other. And the words start going down and you just start writing, and then it's just a combination of switching back and forth of like, all right, this is the idea. I want it to start like this. I kind of want it to end like this. I don't know what the middle is gonna look like, but I at least know what it's gonna start like, and I at least know what I'm gonna end. And then I let the poem kind of do everything in the middle. So I think, and as far as like rhyme goes, I'm inconsistent. I'll start off rhyming. I might stop rhyming. I might go back to rhyming. Um, it's never for me. I kind of take the liberty of poetry not having too having rules a little too much. So I'm trying to be a little bit more stricter. Of like, all right, if the majority of the time I'm rhyming, I'm gonna keep it rhyming. Or if the majority of the time I'm not rhyming, I'm not gonna rhyme. But I don't put that pressure on me. If it happens, it happens. If it sounds good, whatever sounds good to me, I kind of stick with it. So I think it's just finding out what works for that piece, kind of what Chev was saying. Like if it makes sense for the piece for it to rhyme all the way through, then I'm gonna rhyme all the way through. If it only makes sense to not rhyme, so the message is more direct but still poetic, then I won't rhyme. So I think it's a time and place for sure.
Right.
Well,
Nice.
I know, Michael, I know you want to get into the poetry and stuff, but I still I want to hear more about this powerful, this almost like you turn into like a superpower. So you mentioned it, I guess. So what do you mean
But
by that when
you
you
talking
say,
to me? You talking
yeah,
to me?
yes, sir. What do you mean by that when you say like it's like you can be powerful when you doing poetry, but when you aren't, you don't necessarily feel as untouchable.
Well, I think it's like going into a trance in a sense that something else takes over. And I view it as being a godly power. That whatever words that I spew, that I release, that comes from something other than me,
Mm,
something greater than I am. So that's how I'm able to look at my work that is given to me by a higher power, and that keeps me going.
okay.
Because prior to every performance, I make the statement, "Please God, guide my words."
Mhm.
You know, whatever I'm planning to share, please God. I've been saying it for 30 years. Every performance, please God, guide my words.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm talking about, just guide them. You know, I don't know whether that answers your question or not, but
Yeah,
that's how
yeah,
I've been
yeah.
able to survive in this poetry life.
And yeah, that's
Somebody
great.
else.
Yeah. Anybody else want to add to that? Then we'll let y'all get to the
Do your
rhyming part,
thing.
poetry part.
I could add to that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Justin.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. I was gonna say, how much of that do you attribute to like it being otherworldly and then otherworldly, and how much of that do you attribute to it being a skill set that you just have to constantly work on? Because I feel like a lot of artists, I won't say a lot of artists, but there's artists that feel like they can only write when it's in them and the feeling and that divine power that you're talking about. And then I feel like I definitely have those moments where it's super easy and buttery, where I can just write. But then those days where it's just like, I'm not that divine power, just not connecting the way I wanted to, and then you got to kind of like muscle through it. So how much of that plays into a part of like your writing and you just being an artist and poet in that sense?
Well, I did not start writing poetry until I was 32. And that was 30 years ago. I'm 61 now.
You
So
lying.
whatever was boiling inside me needed to come out. It needed to be expressed. So I don't write a lot. And I don't know whether I'm answering your question. I guess what I'm saying is that I don't know what I'm saying. What am I saying, Aaron?
You
What am I
saying
talking
that?
about?
Yeah, I think you saying that when you got something to say, it is like you said earlier, trance. You just feel like you're just in a zone, I guess, and you just lose control over your what people are thinking about you or anything that was bothering you, and it's bigger than you. It sounds like.
Very much so. That's exactly it. Because for me, poetry pushed me to another level of understanding and awareness. Because prior to the poetry, I was relatively shy. I was in my doctoral program and standing in the corner. But once I whatever it was took over, then I changed. I became a different person. Like I said earlier, once that performance is done, whatever demons that were a part of my existence, they back in my head, but not while I'm in it.
Yeah,
It's not while I'm in it. So
that's real interesting. Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, so I think for me, I think my poet person and my spoken word person are very different. So Justin used the term buttery. I really like that. Where it's just real easy, it's smooth, the poem just kind of pours out of you. But when you bring that to the stage, you're now creating an experience. And I have noticed that my spoken word person is way more confident, way more enthusiastic, way more engaged than who I am as a poet or who I am as a writer. And so it's kind of, I guess it would be like an alter ego.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, Michael, you expressed like being vulnerable in real life. I'm more vulnerable on the stage than I am in real life. And I find myself connecting with people more due to that vulnerability. So once I'm on the stage and I'm like pouring it out, and then when I get off the stage and people come up to me and they're like, "Oh my God, your poem," and I'm like, "Really?" Because my spoken word persona is very different than who I am as a writer or as a poet. So that's all I have for that.
Okay.
Well, it's funny. That's one of the questions that I ask on my show. What is the relationship between your speaking voice and your written voice? If there's a relationship, what is that relationship? So you were just talking about that difference between the two. Anyone else? What is the relationship between your speaking voice and your written voice? I think I asked Justin that when he was on my show, and Aaron, I think I asked you that too when you were on my show.
Chev, you look like you about to say something.
That is just my resting, won't shut up face. Let's see, my written voice and speaking voice are tag team partners. They are the absolute best of friends. The written voice does the work. The spoken voice displays it. The spoken voice's confidence comes from the written voice. The written voice work is designed with the spoken voice in mind. It's like we're running a constant pick and roll together. And I think I'm confident on stage because I know I did the writing. And even for the things I haven't written yet, I know they're somewhere in there. So if I need to make them up right now, then it's going to come from the same place as everything else that was written. So I try to keep them in tandem and try to write as much to how I talk as possible. So I think they get along pretty well.
Yeah.
They're going to argue over who gets more of the salary cap, though.
Right.
All
Okay.
right. What about you, Keys Will? What's the relationship between your speaking voice and your written voice? Are they together as one, or are they qualitatively different?
I think when I first started performing, they were separate. But now within the last few months to a year, I would say that they're finally in harmony. I do find myself when I'm not on the stage still kind of in that same energy, that same confidence that I have when I'm on stage, when I'm off stage. I've been more conscious of the clarity of my speaking now that I've been performing more often. So it's kind of at this point, it's now, I would say it's harmonious. It wasn't always that way. And even recently I have made a post about I don't know if some of y'all have experienced that where you're perform, right? And you'll see a video of your performance, and as you're watching it, it almost feels like that's not you. Like it feels like it's a different person. It feels like it's an alter ego, going back to what She's So Cold said. But now as I'm watching it now, I connect more with who that person is, and they're now all one person.
Yeah. That's really, really interesting. I think everybody had a good perspective on this too. And I know we don't want to turn this into a podcast, right, Michael? So we want to go ahead and
We didn't hear from Johnson Sold Out. We
oh
didn't hear from
yeah,
him.
I'm sorry, my brother. Go
And
ahead.
we didn't hear from you either.
Yeah.
We didn't
Well,
hear from you either.
No, no worries, no worries.
I
I don't
tried.
know. I don't I don't know. My performance, I like the writing aspect, man. My performance aspect, I don't really care to perform, to be honest. I do it because it's just a way to, get to, show my art to the people and stuff like that. But I get more kicks out of writing, and I don't think I really distinguished too much of a difference between my writing voice and my speaker voice, honestly. I um I think it's a whole different element. There's a stage presence, performance, theatrical theater aspect that I just don't fully always tap into. And I think when I always just cared about the words. So when you're on stage, the words don't always translate if that presence isn't there, if that performance aspect isn't there, which is unfortunate because you could be saying the realest, most eloquent stuff in the world, but if you're not performing and presenting it in a way that is digestible for a stage setting, then it's like, what's the point? So I that's something I work on constantly. I have a lot of friends now in the scene that are very performance heavy, and I try to study and pick up as much as they tell me and like watch all the videos that they resource when they are still trying to get better and sharpen their performance aspect. But to me, man, I always focus on pen. I always take I always take writing workshops. So I'm just trying to perfect my voice on the page and on songs more so than I'm actually trying to do on the stage.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
What about you, man? What
As
about
you
you?
were talking about this, I started thinking like, damn, what am I gonna say about this? But the more I think about it, I feel like my poetic voice is like the protector of my non-poetic voice. Like I feel like there are certain instances or things I'll say in spoken word that I wouldn't necessarily say. Um, and I don't know if that's, not necessarily anything derogatory, but I guess just being more what I guess what we're talking about, like vulnerable. And I guess, I don't know really why that is, but I'm more likely to not say something bothers me and then go home and like write about it. And then that'll be my next poem that I'm performing. And somebody be like, I thought you said that didn't bother you. And I'll be like, but I think that's pretty much the difference for me is that I think my poetic voice is like the big brother kind of protector. So
All right then.
Why the scenery is changing. I'm walking to my car right now, but we can, multitask and whatnot. Uh my name is Justin Johnson. Johnson sold out. I didn't give like a proper intro when I first started speaking. I'm a poet, author, music artist. I got a book called Scattered out now on Amazon. It's a poetry book. I just released an EP today. It's called Say State. It's out on YouTube. It's gonna be on streaming shortly. I'm still learning this whole self posting, self industry type stuff. Um and yeah, that's what I got going on. I'm slowing down on shows because I got a job now that requires me to kind of be available during weird hours. So it's hard for me to like want to perform because I might get called in to do some work. But
I know, like right now,
we make it
right?
we make it we make it work in this economy. You definitely got to make it work.
Yeah.
So the piece I have today, I actually made into a song. I'm not gonna obviously do the song beat portion of it, but it's still dope to read a cappella. Doesn't have a name yet, but it goes something like this. It's time for me to address that I haven't been best dressed for success. My calendar a mess. Confidence incredulous. On a mixed diet of sea moss whiskey and food that's processed. Stomach pleading for rest. Life a rotisserie of happiness and misery. Seldom come off the roasting spit well done. A battle a day keeps the stagnancy away. May ink despair, but I know this plight will disappear. I make my own rules and use handicaps as success tools. I'm successful when I block out the negative echoes. I'm the petrol gassing the folks in the carpool. A smartphone with enlightened tones cutting through the mundane drone. Pen in my hand more dangerous than a harpoon, more diverse than a catalog of flume.
Mm,
Right for those gone too soon and those punching out for lunch around noon.
mm,
Working more than I slumber till the traffic profitable and not bumper to bumper. Hip to hop on any sound that sounds proper, word to thumper. Broke is temporary, will clean house like sanitary come January.
mm,
Promise you it's fiction of the not tales that are fairy, but time is true fiction, so I won't put a restriction on fruitful depictions. Abundance, my favorite scripture, torching everything pertaining to torture.
mm.
So yeah, that was that.
That was great, man. That was great. You said that was that you turned that into a song?
Yeah, I turned into a song last Wednesday. Yeah, last week I was in the studio with my boy.
Okay.
He's an engineer. He make beats and stuff like that. He found this old beat that's on it. He's like notorious for like making beats like fresh on the spot. He don't have like an archive of like just beats just sitting waiting to be used. So then he just found this old beat and he started playing it. And he's like, "Oh man, I made this in like 2022. Where's this been?" I'm like, "Yeah, where has this been?" Because I always be asking him for beats and he never have any. So I was like, "I need that right now." And I
Right.
had this in the tuck and instantly it just fit and it worked and I really love the song. So y'all will hear that sometime this year. I won't say soon, but it will be this sometime this year.
Oh, yeah, that's great, man. Any other ones you want to do tonight?
Yeah, I got a short one for y'all.
All right, let's
Um
go.
this also is untitled. Um I just know this is old. I wrote this, I'm not gonna preference this. But anyway, I'm on a wave that I'm unfamiliar with. Scattered minds are malnourished, feeding off crumbs from other people instead of food that's at home. Time slips faster than fat kids walking ice-coated uphills. Gravity favors adversity. Who better to embarrass than someone trying to defy physics? I'm trying to defy death by being synonymous to immortal. I am whatever I work to be. Only thing gifted in life is oxygen and dirty water. They'll take your sunlight if you don't act right.
Mm,
Don't ever be so clouded you don't see the light. It's hard to be clouded when there's so much light to absorb. It's hard to be clouded when you actually try.
that's
And yeah, that was that piece.
okay. Yes, sir. Anything else you want to do?
No, man, I think I'm good on those two.
Okay.
I look forward to listening to the rest of y'all spit while I make my little commute over to the next town to get to the job place. But thank you for, if I cut out abruptly, I just want to say thank y'all for your time. And hopefully we do this again where I don't have to work
Yeah. But
and I could be more engaged.
before you go, tell people how to find you, follow you, and like even the poem you read that you said is a song. How can we tune in or find that?
Yeah. Johnson sold out on Instagram. That's JOHNSONSOLDOUT. Johnson and like Johnson and Johnson. Sold out like a sold out show, all spelled how you would spell it. I got johnsonsoldout.com. It's a website. Uh, I'm trying to make my way off these social medias because they can just flip the switch and all your stuff be gone. So I'd rather just have my own platform that people can just go into. So we working on that. You can find me on Tidal. Outside of that EP, I also released a single called Mood Room. If y'all like erotic poetry, it's a little nasty. Make sure the kids not around, or if you're a little squeamish to like naughty things. I keep it classy, but some dirty.
Yeah. Yeah. See, look, it muted you right when you were talking about all that stuff.
Reach me and Yeah, that's Instagram's the best place to reach me at johnsonsoldout.com. And yeah, make sure everybody that's here. I mean, I'm familiar with Chev. Me and Chev go way back, but everybody else, please link up because y'all thoughts have been amazing, and I know the poetry is going to be equally as amazing. So
All
for
right.
sure.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, Michael. So who we got coming up next? Keys Will, I think, if she's ready. Same thing, Keys Will. You know, I mean, I'm familiar with a lot of your poetry, so um, go ahead and whatever pieces you want to do, and then tell people how they can follow you. But if you want to do 2 or 3 or whatever you want, the stage is yours.
Bet. Thank you. So so this first piece I'm gonna do is new-ish. I think I've only performed it like one time, so I don't have memorized. So I'm going to go ahead and read it for y'all. She arrived like a UPS package with no name on it. I'm no thief, but I felt it was for me, so I put my claim on it. She said I was sent to you. Didn't know I was meant to do, didn't know what I was meant to do, but I accepted you. I didn't think I was exceptional. Like, doesn't everyone get this? Receive gifts like it's Christmas. She said, there's a difference between getting gifts and being gifted. And baby, you get this. I didn't book a flight, but my spirit was lifted. And from that day on, I was fully committed. All right, I'm not going front. Every now and then I would roam, but you got the key to my heart, baby. I'm always coming home. I could never leave you alone. Because every time I try to leave, something keeps pulling me back, telling me I need you in my life, telling me that in a world full of forks and spoons, be a knife. Stay sharp. Never mind the lies that invade your mind. Listen to your heart. I feel safe with you. I travel to outer space with you. Blue big pen, there's no erasing you. There's simply no replacing you. I didn't know it was love when you came to me. You didn't even tell your name to me. You had no idea, and I had no idea you ain't come to play games with me. You had me penned down on sheets, turned my black thoughts to black ink, had me pouring my heart out on pages, spilling my feelings on these people's stages. You made me courageous. Never thought I'd speak in front of crowds, sharing our private conversations out loud, getting pennies for my thoughts. I just want to make you proud. Like, look at who you made me. Out here overcoming my fears on the daily. You said, fuck it, shoot your shot, take it off safety, aim to the stars and land it safely. You embrace me, making me high like you lace me. We take trips with no bags, but you help me carry on. So glad you're in the picture. Like Barry, we have a bond. I want this forever. Because when I struggle to make words out of letters, you rearrange the alphabet and help me put them together. Real shit, you make me better. You are the Neo to my soul, my favorite song that never gets old. Well worth your weight in gold. The best story I've never told. Because our story got a few more chapters, but we don't got to wait until the end for a happily ever after. So that poem is titled My Love Poem to Poetry. Poetry is my first love. So, of course, I had to write a poem for her.
That was great. That was great. So yeah,
Thank you.
You can go ahead.
Okay. So this next and last piece I'm gonna do, Aaron, you heard this piece before. I haven't done it in a little while. So a few of you, I mean, it's so weird not seeing y'all faces, but I know y'all can see me. So this piece was actually inspired by Rudy Francisco. I know all of y'all probably know who he is. He's one of my favorite poets. And he wrote this poem called My Honest Poem, but she's so cold, we from New York. So this is my dead ass poem. I was born on December 6th, which means I'm a Sag, which means I'm a fire sign. Now, here we go. I know some of y'all probably, kissed y'all teeth and rolled y'all eyes, but really, that hate is just love in disguise. Because one thing about us is we tell no lies. Y'all come to us for the hard truth. No coats of sugar for your sweet tooth, although it may burn like Devil Springs, 160 proof. You keep coming back because you know I got the juice. Speaking of juice, I prefer alkaline water. And if you don't know the difference, you don't drink enough water. Like knowing when it's bottled from when it's tapped, like feelings when they're bottled from when they're trapped. I dance around like I'm practicing tap. Some days I don't know how to feel. My mind is on the front lines of a battlefield. My body is programmed to autopilot. My heart skips beats like it's on a diet. They say Jesus was a carpenter. And since I'm his only begotten daughter, I learned how to build walls around my heart higher than the Mexican border. I'm just trying to protect it from being slaughtered. I know that no way out means no way in. It's a dead end, and not dead ass, it needs to dead end. But I cut off all connections like dead ends. My hair taught me how to commit. Like when things get hard, it doesn't mean you should split. Conditioning is deep. You got to let it sit. You only grow from the effort you put into it. Like love. I honestly think my soulmate got lost in the solar system. Like when Jeff Bezos was giving trips back to Earth, she must have missed them. They say love is patient. So wait for the right one to come along. But yo, on some real shit, sis, you dead taking mad long. Like at least let me know if you on the way. Send me the Addy so I can meet you halfway. Ain't that the route relationships go anyway? My biggest fear is losing my memory. I used to think about it real heavily. And it's not that I'm afraid to forget my friends and my fam. I fear that no one knows me well enough to remind me of who I am. Who I am is someone who doesn't like avocados. I don't know how y'all eat that shit. The first time I tried, I thought I was allergic. Like I actually threw up the first time I ate it. And from that date on, I decided to hate it. It's the texture. I don't like food that I can't actually chew. Now, grits are the only exception to the rule in which you only add salt, butter, and a little bit of cheese. Sugar does not belong on grits. Don't you dare argue with me. Period. In the end, I just want to say that I lived. That I shared all of me until there was nothing left to give. I want to leave footprints in the sand, on the moon, in the walk of fame. I want to make $1 out of every quarter in this game. I want to touch hearts without using my hands and prove that my name is more than just a store brand. So when I reach those pearly gates, before God lets me pass, he'll say, "Thou hath made me proud, my child." Dead ass. So that's my piece. That's my dead ass poem. Thank you. I appreciate it. So I do have a book. It is available on Amazon. It's called Chrysalis, Not Quite the Butterfly. Also, I can be found on all social media platforms at Only Keys Will, 2 underscores. That's Only Keys Will, 2 underscores. And I think you asked, what do we have going on moving forward, or what do we have in the works? I am finally working on my second book. It is like 8 years later, but I felt like I had a little bit more living to do. And this book is going to be more focused on an emotional aspect because I'm very logical, but I want to tap into emotions. So this one is going to be about love. And I feel like I needed more time to learn about that for me to write about it. So, so yeah, that's what's next. And thank y'all for having me. Thank you for everything. Before me and everybody that's going.
Thank you. Next. All right.
All right, Michael. The concert continues. So we got
that's right.
We got She So Cold is coming up next. So She So Cold, welcome. And
thank you.
With everybody else, we'll turn it over to you to say whatever you want for your introduction, and then do however many pieces you want to do. And then to close up, just tell people how they can find you.
So based in Houston, last year, in the last year, I started rebuilding, repairing my relationship with Christ. And so now I got some poetry that kind of like deals with that in-between phase, like not all the way saved, but not all the way heathen either. So that's kind of where I am in my writing. And so the first one that I'm going to do is called Pulling. I'm going to just go into it without really giving too much like information about it. Give me one sec. Let me shift screens. Okay. I tried not to smoke weed today. Since I'm standing in the spirit of confession, it might be obvious that I wasn't successful. And even though I tried, it still doesn't stop the pull, the pulling at my heart. It's becoming more noticeable. I feel it more now than I used to. I feel convicted more now than I used to. It feels like I feel God more now than I used to. And these are emotions I'm not used to. I used to get lifted without hesitation. No pause, just pull. Then I pulled too hard one day, and from then on, the high didn't hit the same way. My spirit changed, shifted. All of a sudden, I feel defensive about questions nobody asked me, my own disobedience antagonizing me. The ramifications of guilt and shame is always feeling the need to explain. Consequences are playing psychological mind games with my spirit and torn. It feels like I've lived in the flesh for so long, it feels like home, like familiar. Like I may not survive if I have to die daily. For my salvation, I feel unworthy, and that's scary. I'd rather stay on the blissful side of ignorance. I also know my thoughts are untrue. I know Christ died for me just like he died for you, but choosing to live like he did has been challenging. I've been backsliding for years. It's pretty much my normal. So much so that I don't eat if I don't smoke. My appetite doesn't activate until I've had my herbal supplements. I'm surviving off coffee and swisher leaves and limited water intake, struggling to stay hydrated, but never struggle to get high. And this is what happens when your habits are prioritized. The weed man is on speed dial. This is why I hide from my little one whenever I decide to get high, because he'll blow it. Because he wants my attention, and he deserves it. But when he wants to be with me, I'm sober. I'm too edgy and irritable, and sometimes he's a handful. I think I might be dependent on my anxiety as a way to hold on to smoking. I blame the need for toting on my emotional laziness. The haziness keeps me from remembering the Holy Spirit is way more potent and there's no choking involved in worship. The avoidance keeps me cloudy, too groggy to muster up the energy to pray, too ashamed to ask God to take the restlessness away, and then I still might smoke anyway, especially if I'm bored. The Lord is the least favorable form of entertainment I'd like to engage in when my brain is stellified. Who wants to get Bible-wise when it's the smoke that they idolize? I'd rather break down the bud, meticulously remove the stems and seeds, unravel the frontal leaf, carefully lay my trees into their tobacco casket and bury all of my iniquities. And when it's time to inhale, the stale stench prevails over my desire to be born again because I'm human and born in sin. But my God is a jealous God. And idolatry don't sit right with him. So I exhale conviction. Poem. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I have another one. It's called Profanity. Self-explanatory. I be cussing, not a little, but a lot. Sometimes a good F-bomb puts the cherry on top. The profanity makes the point I'm trying to make more sharp, more direct, hits different, adds a little razzle-dazzle to the sentence, a more intentional emphasis. I melt curse words and standard in English into the most vicious verbal blizzard, place a sweet piece of vulgarity into my vocabulary, strategically let it dance off of my tongue like a pretty ghetto ballerina, let it twirl and pot a bourrée out of my mouth, let the obscenities levitate in the middle of the conversation, confirming that I'm more ratchet than I care to admit, because I be cussing. And it's not like I don't have the ability to clearly eloquate, but sometimes the gutter from my youth finds a way to sashay into the exchange like, excuse me, somebody call profanity. I got a few four-letter words I like to keep handing, pull them out of my purse and cause a little calamity because she's the bougie ratchet. But the Lord is working on me. Like I try not to use that language around my kids, but truth is they get the worst of it. Sometimes I can't scan my mental Rolodex quick enough to find the next best word, and I can't curb the urge to throw out a curse word, but they know what I meant. And I'm something like a hypocrite because I'd be fully offended if you talk like that in front of them or me. How dare you use foul language in my presence? Watch your mouth. And I have a separate persona that lives in my house and in my car or when strangers aren't around. I don't speak so candidly in public. I know how to code switch. I don't need nobody judging me because I be cussing. I also know God is listening. And at times I feel the conviction when I don't apply what I've been learning about the power of speaking. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, meaning my words should be uplifting, honoring him and his glory and all that is holy, but my carnal mind is in transition, which might be why I find myself gossiping just above a whisper. I'm uncomfortable engaging in wordplay the way that I used to. The idle babble is corrupt and unfruitful. I know better. And old habits die hard. And sometimes they might even take forever, but I'm God-fearing, so my spirit cries out at his displeasure. I asked him to forgive me for my transgressions and to help me be a walking example of his grace and mercy. And I can't walk it like I talk it without the renewing of my mind. I've got to remember that change takes time and it won't happen overnight, so I pray. I pray for a better way to convey what I'm trying to say. Pray that the words that proceed out of my mouth is an honest and true revelation of the goodness in my heart, a reflection of my intention to do my part to speak words of encouragement, even when it's hard. And I heard that he told folks to come as you are, so I brought my imperfections to the altar in hopes that with just a touch of his garment, I'll get a fresh start. That hopefully my tongue won't continue to be the tinder that supports my mouth in kindling the fire, but instead smolders the embers of my desires for useless chatter. That the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. O Lord, my strength, my redeemer. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
That was deep.
All right.
Thank you.
Very
well. I think that is
a third one.
Yeah, I got one more. It's pretty new. It's pretty
Okay.
fairly new.
Great.
You know, new stuff. This one, my daughters are getting a little bit older, a lot older. They're now in their early 20s, and so we're exploring our relationship in a different way. So this one is called Heartbreak. I know the time will come. Well, I will have to convince my daughter that good men exist. I will have to scrape together the jagged pieces of her broken heart into a heaping pile of screams, hiccups, and short breaths, and persuade her into believing that she will survive this heartbreak. Soak up her salty tears into the crevice of my neck as she sobs in disbelief that a man could be so cruel, that a man could break his promise to her without remorse, that a man that she chose could feel so much like the father she doesn't know, the shadow lurking in the background of her DNA, the reason for her whys. Like, why didn't you choose me? Why wasn't I worth the effort? Why haven't you tried to be a part of my life? Why am I still asking why when 20 years have gone by and I'm still not a daddy's girl? And I, as her mama, will have to fold her hands into her lap and make direct eye contact in order to help regulate her breathing, her chest heaving. The disappointment is ravenous. It's eating at her grieving, devouring her trust in men, ripping the possibility of loving them to shreds, breaking every pipe dream of marriage into smithereens. And I'm staring into those gorgeous brown eyes, trying to keep hope alive. I see her belief in good men dying right before mine. I'm determined to keep the slightest flicker of light lit, and based off my experience, women that don't trust, believe in, or respect men end up walking in love with a twisted perception of what a man is supposed to be to them. They end up on the opposite side of the forest, staring from a distance, emotionally guarded, refusing to be vulnerable. They can't tell the difference between a bear trap and a safe state, in a safe space. In their eyes, all men are the same. They are the sons of their fathers, a repeat of history. And I've seen this story before. And honestly, it doesn't matter how much I try to prepare her for love and all the bumps and bruises that come with falling into it. She will never fully understand the depths of it until she's been broken by it, until her heart and mind are connected by it, until she has to sacrifice and compromise because of it. She has to feel it, the heartbreak. She has to see it for what it is and all that it isn't. She has to make her own mistakes. And in the meantime, I hold her hand and wipe her tears and make sure my baby doesn't disappear because of it, that she doesn't lose herself on the way down. I'll remind her that eventually, with time and intention, she'll heal from it. I'll remind her that this might have happened this time, but a good man is waiting on the other side. There will come a time when he will tell her that she is the apple of his eye, and he will mean it, and she will believe him, and he will show her tenderness, and she will receive it without reservations. His words will enter her heart like oxygen, and she will exhale relief because finally she can stop holding her breath. And I begin to cry too, because I realize I'm also talking to myself. Home.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that was great. That was wonderful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You've been killing it, sis. You killed it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you
You know,
walked
some
on
talented
that.
people, man.
Thank you.
Talented
Thank you.
people.
Right? I know.
Talented.
I know.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We need
Thank
to
you.
charge people to listen to this. I might be
Thank you.
on
Thank
something
you.
like we have to talk, but
Mhm.
yeah, tell everybody how they can reach you and what you have coming up.
So right now I don't have anything really coming up. I'm just kind of coming back. I took a nice hiatus, maybe just under a year, where I kind of just had to gather myself and heal, life be lifing. But I'm on Instagram at she_so_cold. I do have a YouTube channel. I don't post on it often. I got a couple videos up there. I probably should share more. But I'm also on TikTok under the same name, she_so_cold. On that platform, I share a lot about like parenting, what it's like parenting young adults, because they be doing stuff. The kids be kidding. And so I share a lot there. I really uplift the moms that are going through those uncomfortable stages of like parenting their young adults or parenting their teenagers. So yeah, those are my two more popular platforms, which would be Instagram and TikTok. And that's how you can reach me. Again, nothing really major coming up. I got a couple shows that I'm doing like locally. And maybe God has something in store for me as far as, doing a book, maybe starting a podcast, something along those lines. I'm just kind of letting him talk to me. So I'm waiting for me to hear him clearly before I make any moves. That's kind of where I'm at.
Sure.
I understand.
Thank you.
You keep doing stuff like that, he'll gonna lead you somewhere. Don't you worry.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Powerful people, man.
Yeah, I know. I think we got a good mix of people for sure.
It is.
All right.
Incredible mix.
Coming up next is, I want to say the 3-time winner of the Poetically Correct contest, my man Chev. Chev didn't won the contest so much I had to stop doing the contest.
I'll do one that I'm making the rounds with right now, and one that's gonna see its last outing before a complete like rewrite and edit and chop and screw, you know what I'm saying? Adios to this version and whatnot. I think we've grown a little bit as a writer from when we did this. So he was a little younger, Chev, when we put this one together. Let's see here. I don't even perform it like that, which is why I'm about to read it. I always wanted to be a superhero. I wanted my power to be teleportation. Instant. Like, I wanted to disappear sometimes, but I always wanted to show up for people like my grandmother. Like she did for 5 kids after grandpa passed. Like she did every church Sunday, like she knew God needed to see her. She prayed for me, but she said I don't call enough. I say phones work both ways, and superheroes don't always make calls. They answer them, but God called her 2 weeks before my first national slam, and there was no hero's homecoming. Just a hospital in Jamaica that told her they didn't have enough beds. She died in her sleep that night. And I was on stage when they buried her. Standing a foot above ground as my grandmother sank below it, I sank the lowest in front of a sea of strangers who could not tell that I was drowning I wondered, how could I be a hero yet still in need of so much saving? The only power I got is poetry, so I can't rescue people from pain. I can only perform it. I couldn't teleport, so I rode the train. I couldn't afford better, so I slept on it. I lost my powers, lost weight, lost friends. Every birthday trip I was too broke to make and too unsuper to teleport to. I wanted to show up, but being homeless is having nowhere to go and yet still no time. Depression is having no idea where you want to go, but just knowing that you really want to be gone. And sometimes I think a phone call to my grandmother be bat signal enough to save us both. But I'm scared she's gonna tell me she's sick. And I'm scared to have to tell her I am, that I want to disappear some days, that maybe her prayers ain't been working both ways. Like, how could I be a hero yet still in need of so much saving? My last night back on the street, my backpack was stolen. In it was a cell phone, a passport, and any chance I had to teleport to that funeral again. I'm unable to make the call, but I still make the slam. I'm unable to rescue myself from pain, so they just asked me to perform it. I had the type of mental breakdown that third place trophies are made of. As we walk outside the venue, an 18-wheeler smashes into two cars on an intersection, and I ran hard enough to make teleportation look slow. I made back signal of my voice screaming for help. I ripped a door off already broken hinges and pulled two bodies out of smoke I wasn't really sure were breathing. I held a stranger in the same arms that should have been my grandmother's pallbearers. Told them all that I love you. She couldn't hear. Can't save everybody, but I've got to be able to save someone, right? I mean, if not my grandmother, if not myself, then you. Then you cannot leave when I have finally shown up. Not everything in my arms is allowed to die. Help arrives. And we keep them awake long enough for the EMTs. They lived. And on the final day of the festival, the host tells the audience what happened, and people clap, they cheer, and they even call me a superhero. And I wondered why I still don't feel like one. Oh, that is
heavy.
back in
You said you're gonna
the
rewrite.
archives.
Heavy.
Yeah, for sure. All of it. Absolutely.
You just gonna do away with that
Yeah.
that masterpiece right there, and just
I don't know about that.
that's
It
it.
was honest.
Yeah,
It was honest. So we're gonna add some master, but we're gonna keep it honest.
I can't wait to hear that one. The
He over here trying to play humble. Just cut it out, Chev. Cut it out.
It felt
Cut the
like
shit.
it felt like there were too many things happening at the same time for like a clearer poem. So it's
But I
like
felt like
maybe
that
there are
helped
three
bring the
poems.
emotion out because it was metaphorical and it was also true, and it was. I mean, I felt it. I understood it. I took everything from it.
I appreciate it.
So I mean, yeah.
Same.
But you're an artist,
Definitely.
do what you will with it. I'm sure it's only
Appreciate
going to grow into a better piece. So
That's what we're gonna try to do. We're gonna try
It
to
was a
grow
really
it.
great story. I think
right.
I followed along from start to finish. I felt the emotion. I definitely maybe a new poem from a different perspective, but that right there is so well written and so engaging. I think it's a very beautiful piece. I think it can stand as is. And if and this is just me offering my opinion. But I think if you were going to write about it again, because you are now a better writer, I think that's a whole new piece. Like you could look at it a different perspective because you are a better writer. But that particular piece right there where it is like perfection. It is beautifully engaging and very vivid. And you took me with you. I was right there with you. You get what I mean? So I think it's a
appreciate
great
y'all.
piece. I think it's a great piece.
Yeah,
I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
yeah.
Now we're gonna have fun and use curse words. Now we're gonna have fun and use curse words because I haven't gotten to use many today. Shit. That had nothing to do with the poem. Again, just practice. Just practice. You know? But see, I've always had this hunger about me. Like when I was a boy, my stomach growled like it had teeth. Like there was a beast beneath my skin just waiting to be unleashed. My mama asked the doctors what was wrong with me, and no kidding, they said, Miss Donna, relax. Your baby boy just got a little of that dog in him, but father's still the biggest dog I know. Like you can throw him a stick and he'll fetch a whole new family tree. Cheating on my mother with both the lady and the tramp, leave the puppies like garbage in the street, but I guess that's why they call it a litter. My mom has built a home of herself, and all he do is chew up the carpet. He rips at the foundation like he was at the space we took up. When you break a home, you tend to break everything in it. Now, every time I leave, she checks for fleas. She says I better not go dog nobody's daughter and flee. She's looking for the animal in me because she has spent years searching for the human in her husband. I can't blame her for tracking the men in her life when all of her traumas got these paw prints on them because mine do too. My whole life, we've been wondering what to do just to make him stay. Like the first time he came to one of my games, he said it wouldn't happen again because it wasn't worth it to watch a loser. I went from a boy to a golden retriever. I brought home a state championship between my teeth. I thought if I ran like a greyhound, I could bust the distance between us while I'm chasing a relationship. He's still chasing pussy, and I wish that these were just things that a therapist knew about me, but being a dog is only dragging the skeletons out of your closet to bury the bones in the yard. I was 13 when my father told me that his father left him in Jamaica at the same age, left him to be head of a family. Now he's stuck in a cycle of chasing tail. 14, when I found out I got a baby brother who shares my same spots but can't call the same spot on Mother's Day, I learned a dog is bred. When the God in you gets turned backwards, when you've lived with this devil in your spirit, because you just want somebody who's going to hold you and love you and tell you you're a good boy, so starved for affection. By the time it comes, you just biting at the hand that feeds you this anger and emotional abandonment, turning all your Michelangelo into Michael Vick. So now I fight everything because fuck everything. And my father fucks everything until he fucks everything up. But he tried to fight my mama one time. Like her son wasn't a boxer, ain't a guard dog who'll leave your body to rot while the cops come. If you think you're gonna bully my mama, he grab her, I grab him, he grab a knife, and this is the tightest we've ever held each other. So my mother becomes a leash. He pulls us apart and screams how she can't call no dog catching police, but refuses to watch us turn to bones in the yard because that is how you train a dog. You just hit him with the newspaper. You up all those stories of black boys going straight beyond the therapy he needs because there ain't no safe space for us that don't look like a cage. And we don't even have the language to say how much this shit hurts my father and I. And spoke 1,000 times since then, but we ain't never talked once because I know just as much as his blood hounds me that he a wounded dog too. Howling at the moon, begging to know if all dogs go to heaven, but in case they don't, I pray our teeth grow dull. Our lungs grow too tired to growl and all. That damn dog and me and my father gets put down so we can finally just sit and heal. Oh, hey. It's been real. Have a good time.
Man.
Wow.
Man.
Amazing. Amazing.
And that's called Dogs.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a powerful group
man,
of people,
you
man.
know, I don't even, Michael, what you got to say?
I mean, these people.
I don't even know what to say at a time like this, man. That was great. That was great, man. That was great. And Chev, tell people how to find you, how they can keep up with everything that you got going on, and what else you have going on. Because I know you've been pretty much winning these slams here, there, and everywhere now. You know.
I don't know about everywhere, but we gonna try. It's been a good year though. You can find me at Chev underscore too much on Instagram. That is probably the most effective way to find me and keep up with what's happening. That's CHEV underscore TOOMUCH. My TikTok exists, but I don't use it. I've been able to avoid Twitter for like the most of my life, and I think I'm gonna keep that going for the sake of my sanity. You can if you're ever out in Atlanta, probably just at your random slam or 1/3 of your random open mics. And as far as things I got going, I've I officially won the right to be the United States Slam representative as of 2024. So I will be sent to the Abya Yala Copa America, which is the Continental Slam between all of the countries in North and South America, essentially the Western
Wow.
Hemisphere. And that's going to be in Mexico in June 27th through July 1st.
That's
I'm going to
awesome.
be in Mexico for that.
Congratulations.
And
Congratulations. It's all right.
thank you. And I'll also be going to the World Slam in Togo, which is in West Africa, I
Wow.
believe, in October. And I'll be the first United States rep sent to that since the COVID pandemic. So I'm hoping that goes well. I'll be featuring for Voices in Power in Brooklyn, June 20th. So as a native New Yorker, I get to go home for a little while. Other than that, I'll be popping up here and there. Salt Lake City, Utah, Chicago, Florida, Atlanta, I'll be competing in Baltimore on July 1st for the Charm City Finals.
Yeah.
If anybody's familiar with them, probably my favorite platform going right now. And other than that, we're just gonna work on a book and touring with Poetry versus Hip Hop, ran by the Grammy nominated Queen Sheba. So we'll be performing here in Atlanta along with Malcolm Jamal Warner, Talam Acey, and a great cast on Father's Day, if anyone's in Atlanta for that. And we'll be heading to Boston next month and later in the year, and other dates that are escaping my mind because some aren't confirmed yet. And some I have to be staring at a calendar to
Yeah.
understand these things. Or
Well, that's
Busy.
fantastic. That's
Sure.
great.
We appreciate
That's
thank you.
you
fantastic.
giving us your time and stuff. And before we let you go, one thing I just wanted to ask you too is, how do you come up with these types of stories? Like,
They happen.
are they all like lived experiences?
They happen. I can tell you for a fact, every single thing in Dogs happened. Every single thing in Superhero happened. Every single thing in Street Sweeper happened. Every single thing in Robbing Santa happened. There are poems that are older that I changed things because I wasn't as comfortable with what happened in my life, or maybe pull stories that weren't necessarily about me to like speak to a greater truth or a message that was important to me to get off. But like most recently, it's been, oh no, they happen. That's why. That's unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's powerful. All of them are vivid stories, like people said. You take the listener like
On a journey.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So also respect to you for sharing those moments too.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate it.
always a pleasure to have you
Likewise.
on the show. So, and let us know how we can support you in all these endeavors and things you have going on. So,
And just show love. My love language is words of affirmation from everybody. And
Right.
you in particular, Aaron, have been like just so kind whenever I've been able to like share space or share work. And I thoroughly appreciate that. It's never going to be an issue for you getting me booked anywhere to anything. Like I'll show up. I appreciate it.
all right, for sure. Glad to
That's
hear.
nice.
All right, appreciate it, man.
All right, it's Michael's turn. I'm going back to the audience. Here for it.
I can't follow that up, Michael.
I know it's an incredible program. I mean, everybody,
I know,
it's
right?
amazing, wonderful, wonderful. Man, I like stuff like this. I
Yeah,
really do.
yeah. I'm glad you allowed us to grace your presence on your platform again.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
So yeah, you wanna finish off with a poem?
We can do that.
We. All right. Go ahead, Michael. Show us what you got.
You want me to do one?
Sure. You wanna end the show with one? I said
Okay.
I can't follow after all hearing all of them. I
I
need to
know.
go
I
ahead and
know. It's an
on down.
incredible group of people. I'll share one. This is a piece titled Grammatically Incorrect. a spoken word symphony.
Okay.
They try to box me in, pin me down with labels, nouns that hang heavy, verbs that dictate my every move. But I'm not an object to be possessed, nor a marionette with strings for limbs. I am not a whisper of is or was, nor a future tense that can predict. My being is a hurricane, ever shifting, rewriting its own narrative, unfurling in defiance of their finite definitions. Forget your adjectives, your modifiers that diminish me. My light burns too bright to be dimmed by their pale descriptions. I am not dependent on their approval, their scales of good or bad. I wear my uniqueness as a crown, a tapestry woven with the threads of resilience and fire. Conjunctions cannot connect me to their expectations. Prepositions cannot place me beneath their gaze. I am not an afterthought, a footnote in their grand narrative. My voice will rise. A flourish untamed, unconfined by their rules. Yes, I am grammatically incorrect. A sentence that breaks the mold. My language is the language of rebellion, a symphony of the marginalized, the misunderstood. I sing of freedom, of carving my own path, of being emphatically me, unapologetically me. Take me as I am. A riot of colors, a whirlwind of emotions. I am the sunrise bursting through cracked pavements, the divine bloom in the desert sand. I am not an era, but an evolution, a testament to the beauty that lies beneath the confines of your with grammar. So let them parse me, analyze me, label me with their sterile terms. I will laugh in the face of their limitations, for I am free, not just grammatically, but free in my soul, in my spirit, in the very essence of my being. There is nothing about me that can be described as a noun, a verb, or a case. I cannot be either and or budded out of existence. I am like a phoenix that rises from the ashes, wings ablaze, forever soaring beyond the reach of somebody else's prescribed world. Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome. You know, I gotta ask you what prompted
What,
that.
man?
You know, I was gonna ask you what prompted that. You usually are the one asking people all the questions. Now I get to ask you one real quick. That sounded like
Well,
something prompted that.
it's,
I guess
I
I'm
think it's important.
like you were talking to somebody or some people.
Probably some people, when people question your intelligence, question who you are, um, you've got to say, hey, everybody has the right to be different.
Mhm.
I don't have to follow what you're doing to be okay.
Mhm.
I can have my own voice,
Right.
my own way of being. I don't have to be like you to feel fine and good about me. I don't know. I just always felt that people do not live their lives by the rules of grammar because grammar is just one way,
Right.
one
Right.
correct way.
Right.
Everyone's life, in my mind, is different, and that we're uniquely empowered to be who we are as individuals,
Mhm.
not a monolithic people,
Mhm.
but as individuals.
Right.
I don't know. Those are just my thoughts.
No, and that's great. I think that's like, kind of this show tonight because we had so many different individuals with different ways of doing poetry and, you
Yeah,
know,
it's true.
we still can all come together and share ideas and just see the impact that different people can have, on
Mhm.
your family, your friends, stuff you've gone through personally, children, like She's So Cold was talking about,
Yeah,
with her
everybody.
sharing, yeah, and everybody. So I think that's good, man. That's a good way to end the show. So appreciate everybody for joining. I'm Aaron R. the Poet.
Wait.
So,
Where's your poem?
you know,
You can go walk up out of here without you saying something, man. Come on now. You're the man of the hour.
I did I just about everybody else, you know. So after this, you know, I'll give a little brief one, okay? I'm
All right,
only
then.
human and
All
my
right.
emotions change. People's perceptions of me and mine, they haven't always been the same. I've never quite been the type to automatically conform to the norm because being like everybody else, well, that's not how creativity is formed. And I wasn't formed to be like the norm. And out of that shell, my reality was born. That I have words to give, and I do believe that you too have just as good as a gift as me. And two is better than one, so imagine what we could be collectively. The more, the better, respectively. Large groups could change this nation's trajectory. Some people do this for show. This isn't part of that act. You'll always be remembered by how you treat others, not for your alternative facts. And with that, thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm Aaron R. the Poet.
Thanks to everybody. All right, wonderful. All right.
Chef, the champ, only keys will. Thank you to Johnson
Thank
Soul.
you for having me. Had a good time. Thank you so much.
Yes. And if anybody would like to be a guest on my show, it's me and you share your poetry and talk about what you're doing. I mean, my information goes out to about 300,000 people, and I'd love to have you on my show. You're ranked number 2 in the world for one of the best poetry podcasts to listen to in 2024. So I'm serious
Congratulations
now.
to you.
I want to showcase everybody. I want to
You didn't
showcase
say
everybody.
that wrong either. You meant
Too much talent. Too much talent.
300,000, right? You didn't say that wrong. Yeah, that's great, man. So appreciate you, Michael. And look forward to
appreciate you, man.
Yep. So we'll be in touch.
All right.